Well, folks, we are just about through the first week of MLB season, and we have no shortage of storylines already. We've got torpedo bats. That's right, torpedo bats setting the world on fire. And locally, we've got a $300 million designated hitter that can't hit the ball into the ocean if he was standing in it. It's a small sample size, but the fan base, it's already nervous here in New England. No surprise there, right? That and a few other items on the docket in a short show this week, including a couple of rule changes and rule tweaks at the NFL owners' meetings. Generally positive stuff there. We'll get into that in a little bit. The draft is now just 3 weeks away, and I'll be sharing an amendment on my take as to what I think the Patriots should do with the fourth overall pick. Not quite time to bury the Boston Bruins season just yet, but we'll hit on a couple of hockey notes really quick at the end of the show. And I know we haven't talked NBA in a while, but the Boston Celtics, they are just 7 games away from their season being over, so we will be talking playoff basketball here very soon. Oh, yeah, and NCAA tournament has all four of the number one seeds in the Final Four since 2008. Boring. So no more fun for me on that front. It's the Terranadome. It's all new. It starts right now. Terranadome. Minnesota was doomed from the start. I mean, this was a ass whooping. There's nothing short of that. It was a complete ass whooping. But I will tell you what, my friend, nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. And it is time to get them back in the AFC Championship game. I believe that. Listen, you're right about Derrick Henry, especially in cold weather. No one's going to want to tackle that guy. So it's going to be imperative for the Buffalo Bills to jump out early in this game and get a lead and force Lamar Jackson to have to play from behind. They can do that. They're going to win this game. Mention things that we love to hear, like we're getting the entitlement out of our team, and we're going to earn the opportunity to come into this building every day. I absolutely love that. One thing I will say for sure, yes, they definitely need to go and spend some friggin' money. They're going to have the most cap space in the league, and I'm going to kill them every week on this show until they spend money. The Terranadome, and it starts right now. And welcome into the show, folks. Of course, my name is Scott. It's the Terranadome. It's a Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025. Here we are once again. And we're back and we're into the show already, guys. And I got to tell you, it's already been 6 days or I guess 5 days of 6 days of baseball already, right? It's been a week since we've gotten into the MLB regular season, and a new wave, a new sensation has swept the sport and it's swept up the nation. Everyone's talking about it. It's called torpedo bats. And if you don't know what a torpedo bat is because you haven't been watching baseball so far, if you're not a fan of the game, it does make the game more fun. It might make you more interested in watching it. Torpedo bats, basically what it is they've moved the wood on the bat closer to the barrel portion. So it's basically made a fatter barrel portion of the bat. And it's totally legal because the bat is the same as long as it's 2.61 inches in diameter or something like that. Don't ask me how I knew exactly how much that was. Or as long as it's not it's a certain length, a certain diameter, and a certain weight, it's totally legal. So basically, I'm dating myself a little bit here, but if you guys remember back in the late 90s and early 2000s, maybe at recess, like in my case, or in your backyard or whatever, it used to be something called a vortex bat. And it was basically just a wiffle ball bat on steroids with like an air pocket center with like a plastic shell around it, and you would just hit bombs all over the place. That's basically what this is. I've been calling it corked bats. So my take, right? Is it problematic? Yes. It's problematic for the league because they can't ban it, right? They can't because they've already said that it's legal. So I don't think it needs to be banned, but what needs to happen is I think that the pitchers are going to need something to put them on equal footing, and I'll get to that in a second. Now, this was actually created last year, I guess experimented with a little bit at the end of last year. But for this season, the New York Yankees naturally were the first ones to embrace them mostly as an entire team. And they proceeded to hit 15 home runs in their 3 game series against the Milwaukee Brewers. And it felt like more than that, to be honest. Um, Now, for the record, Aaron Judge is so good. He says he doesn't need one of those bats, and he's kind of right about that. So, yeah, the whole league certainly noticed, and now it's caught on. And now you got guys like Ellie De La Cruz already has big time power, right? He tries one out after 4 games into the season and immediately hits 2 home runs and knocks in 7 runs in the first game that he has one, right? So before long, everybody's going to be using these things, and it's going to be just like the steroid era all over again. And listen, on this show and to other people, I've said many times, I'm cool. Do whatever you want. You might as well make steroids legal at this point because you've already got guys that were on steroids in the Hall of Fame. So we're already picking and choosing which steroid guys we like enough to put in the Hall of Fame. But guys like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens aren't in. Another story for another day. I'm all about just legalize it, right? Just legalize it. Maybe you don't need the steroids part, but if you're gonna let this be legal, like I said, it's problematic because it does give the hitters an advantage. I think there's a way to mitigate some of this for the pitchers. I think it's a pretty easy solution, actually. Let the pitchers use sticky stuff again. Remember when that was a whole thing, and they had to ban the sticky stuff that they were using. The tack they came up with a few years ago, and now umpires they got to check guys' belts and gloves and hats and hands and all that stuff every time they come off the mound at the end of a half inning. Let them have it back. Let him have it back because then you're creating an equal playing field. Bring it back. And if you don't want to go that far, we've seen in the past couple of years that the league is willing to mess with the baseballs and deaden them, right? So deaden the baseballs like you did in 2023 in the first half of 2024, if that's the case, where you basically you make the balls heavier, right? You can also raise the seams. That's another way you can do it. It gives the pitchers way more control and more spin rate, more vertical and horizontal movement, right? Oh, good timing for that. And if you don't want to go that far, there's another way to do it. And it's pre-tacked baseballs. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with pre-tacked baseballs, this is something that they tried out for a full season in the Double-A Southern League in 2022 and at the end of 2021 just a bit in Triple-A with some of the teams. And it's something that can definitely balance the scale for the pitchers. A pre-tacked baseball is basically it's a layer of like that sticky stuff, a little bit more graining on the baseball. Proprietary substance made by a chemical company called Dow. In the Double-A Southern League, the pitchers reported and the hitters as well reported seeing an extra 3 to 4 inches of vertical and or horizontal break on pitches when using those pre-tacked baseballs, and the hitter's stats certainly suffered because of it. So when you are in a situation where you basically are going to have a bunch of guys in the league that are using cork bats now, you might as well even the playing field, give the pitchers a better chance. And I'm all for more offense, but as somebody that plays fantasy and does a bit of gambling on sports from time to time, I'd like to see the playing field be somewhat fair, right? Just in the interest of fairness. But is it good for the game? Ultimately, it is. Ultimately, good for the game, right? Absolutely. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a problematic, but I think it's a good problem to have, if that makes any sense. So, certainly one thing to watch on the Torpedo Bats, right? So, um, yeah. So there you go. And yeah, sorry, I had a missed call there. Sorry, I'm in the middle of doing something. I'm gonna have to call you back. Um, so we'll move on, right? But that's one to keep an eye on. And if you're a casual and you're like looking for a reason to get into baseball, more offense is always what you want as a casual. So definitely something that you might want to keep an eye on because more and more players are going to turn to this, at least in the short term. I don't think the league can ban it. I don't think they will ban it. So just keep an eye on that. And like I said, folks, it's going to be a quick show today. It's going to be a real quick show. Getting ready to travel here and doing some other things. So, let's go to the Boston Red Sox. Boston Red Sox have had a few developments, and again, it's like I told you, it's 5 games into the season. It's not a whole lot to really complain about or really panic about, but that's what the New England fan base does. That's what we've always done up here in the Boston area. So again, Red Sox off to a 1-4 start. They're not scoring runs, right? And naturally, despite having those 157 games left to go, if you listen to sports radio around here the last couple of days, people are panicking. But there are a couple of points I do agree with on. First of all, Rafael Devers is a absolute mess right now. He's either 0 for 8, I believe he's 0 for 19 with 15 strikeouts, if I've got that right. I don't need to tell you that that's horrendously bad. That's as bad as a line as you will ever hear. He's starting to walk a little bit. His at bats are getting better, but it's not great to say the least with Devers. Now, they're saying that the shoulders are fine. I believe that. I think that he's healthy. I honestly do. Um, but what I do think is also going on is his mental state, and this goes back to when the team signed Alex Bregman, right? And now, like, listen, it's been like 7 weeks since Bregman signed at this point. This is on Devers for being a baby just as much as it is on them for springing it on him. And here's what I mean. His mental state has absolutely affected his slow start because he delayed his entire spring training. Basically, when they signed Bregman, Devers went home. You may not remember that, but Devers basically packed up and went home for like a week. They said, oh, no, he'll be back. He'll be back. But it was weird to say the least. He comes back. He was supposed to start getting into games, delays it by a week, then delays it another week. Barely has any spring training at bats. And he was clearly adamant when they first signed Bregman. And the first time they questioned Devers about it, he repeatedly said, no, no, I'm a third baseman. I'm a third baseman. I'm not DHing. No, he said it repeatedly. So why is it that he's now changed his mind and he's now fully on board with being the designated hitter? I don't buy it. I think he's pissed. And you have to wonder if he's trying to shoot his way out of here, but you can bet your ass that he's still angry. I don't care what he's saying. His agent and Alex Cora are telling him to shut his effing mouth. That's all that there is to it because there's a chance that they may have to trade this kid. And I'm not saying that they're yet. I'm not saying that anyone either side is there yet, but he's pissed. I guarantee you that. Now, is he tanking his value? Because what'll if he can't get it going, then there's going to be no market for him. Because I don't know if you guys remember, but he makes $30 million a year, so it's not like you can just say up and trade him because he's a little unhappy. Part of me doesn't blame him for being unhappy, by the way, because when he signed this deal, he was assured. Now, granted, this is with a different general manager, but same ownership group, same manager, that he was going to be at third base long term. And now 2 years later, that's not the case. Now, Alex Bregman has basically a year-to-year deal. It may only be a one-year thing, but do you really think that they're going to force the kid? And I say kid, Devers is 27. He's been in the league for like 8 years now. But are they going to force the kid to DH for a year and then go back like a year or two later and say you can go back to third? Because I don't think it works that way. Sorry, I just don't think that's the case. It's a complex problem. I think people are freaking out a little too much over the fact that Devers is so bad right now. And it's simply because he just hasn't had any ramp up at all. He basically had no real offseason and no real spring training. This may go on a little bit longer. I think it's going to get better. His at bats haven't been that bad the last couple of games. Really, he's seeing the ball pretty well. He's just not making contact. He's late. Um, I would say he needs to close his stance up a little bit too. But I never played past high school, so I was a pretty good contact hitter, but I wasn't a major league caliber 30 home run a year guy, obviously. So um, I think it's going to work itself out. And also, in his case, a guy that should be a mentor is David Ortiz, right? Why would you not pick the greatest designated hitter's brain, whoever was a designated hitter? So he's got the resources, and the kid, I'm sorry, but he's got the track record of being too good of a hitter. And ultimately, I think keeping him out of the field is going to keep him healthier because he has had problems with his shoulders the last couple of years. It's to his benefit. It's less work for the same amount of money. Like, go be a great hitter like you always have been. I think he figures it out. One thing I do agree with the fan base on, though, switching gears off of Rafi Devers, is Trevor Story is a problem. He's an albatross. His contract and him as a player, it's an albatross at this point. And I called this all the way back in 2022 on the original run of that Terranadome. In the original run, I said when he signed here, this was going to be a problem down the road at some point, right? You've got a kid waiting in the wings in Marcelo Meyer, who's a top 10 prospect in baseball, top number 12 officially, but like this kid's ready to be an everyday big leaguer. But you're paying Trevor Story $22.5 million this year. It's too much. It was too much at the time. And maybe they're waiting for the inevitable injury with Story because Trevor Story's never played more than 100. He's never played more than 94 games in a season here. And frankly, the other 2 years were less than 50 games each. So what a waste of a signing this has been. Um, but in the meantime, as long as he's healthy, you're stuck with him because they're going to play him every day. They're paying him too much money to put him on the bench, right? It'd be one thing if he was still the hitter that he was in Colorado. But as I told you at the time, I warned you back then in early 2022, Story isn't nearly the same hitter outside of Coors Field because really nobody is, right? That place inflates everybody's statistics. But from what I see at this point in his career, this is just what I've been. Like I said, I played it up until high school, right? But when you watch enough baseball, you watch thousands of games over the course of your life. Um, you can figure out some things, right? From what I can see, at this point in Story's career, his best attribute is his speed. That's not usually a good thing. He can't hit fastballs at all, either side. His recognition on breaking balls from right-handed pitchers is non-existent. Can't recognize a breaking ball. And he's not a patient hitter on top of it. So you got three problems right there, right off the rip. Okay. Now, Marcelo Mayer, who's been in the system. This is his fifth season in the system now. He's drafted in 2021, fourth overall. This kid's ready. He showed it in spring training, and he's showing it again down in AAA. He's ready. He's ready to go. He represents an immediate upgrade, and I agree with the rest of the fan base on that. Story is a problem. You're going to have to do something about it, or you can just wait about a month until he gets hurt, and then your problem's solved. So either way, do not panic. As far as the rest of this stuff goes, guys, it's 5 games in. And your big ace, who you just signed and who I'm about to get to, is something I'm very happy with them about. Everybody needs to take a deep breath on this team. This team's going to hit. They're going to hit a lot. I promise you that. Do not panic this early on. Wait till the home opener this weekend, and I bet you'll see a difference. But they did do one thing. They did do one thing a couple of nights ago on Monday night that I've been begging them to do since they made the trade, and it's for Garrett Crochet. The Red Sox signed Garrett Crochet, 6-year deal, $170 million. That's big money, yes. It wipes out his final year of arbitration. It kicks in next season. So the extension is from 2026 to 2032. Yeah, long time, right? He can opt out after the 2030 season. And I believe I forget what the number is. But if he has any significant arm injury from 2026 to 2030, which is a 120-day or more stint on the IL, and that's consecutively for one season, if I'm not mistaken, that player opt-out becomes nulled. Can't exercise it. But then they can go and buy him out in the final year of his deal for 15 million. It's a little complicated, but in all honesty, guys, great move by the Red Sox. It's a great move by the Red Sox. I don't care what the old timers are saying on the radio. It's a great move for this team. I'm going to tell you why right now. I'm done, but oh yeah, and by the way, I'm done roasting them about being cheap. It was a nice 3-year run to rip John Henry, but guess what? They've opened the checkbook again. They've done it. This is exactly what they needed to do. If you're gonna drop 4 prospects for a pitcher, you need to sign that pitcher. We've been saying this for 2 months now. They finally did it. So I know 170 million is a lot of money. It is, of course, it is, right? But a big season from Crochet this year probably would have added something from like 55 to 70 million dollars more onto that contract. That's just based on what some other guys in the league have gotten. Also, Crochet will not turn 26 until June 21st, halfway through the season, basically. In his first full year as a starter in 2024, he was workload managed in order to preserve the arm because he had never thrown that many innings in his professional career. And after the middle of June, he never threw more than 4 innings in a start. The White Sox were very careful with him because they intended to trade him and get a big haul for him. It took until the offseason. They did get their big haul. He was still dominant, despite being limited for the whole second half of the season. 209 strikeouts in 146 innings, a 1.07 whip. And while the 3.58 ERA isn't that sexy, his underlying peripherals suggested an ERA closer to 2.7, which is much better. He had some bad luck on batting average on balls in play as the league was at a 318 clip against him on balls in play. The league average is 25 points lower than that. at 293. So a victim of a little bit of bad luck. And furthermore, his exit velocity against him on balls in play was below league average. He was better than the 358 ERA. A bad team playing bad defense. And it's, by the way, the all-time worst team in baseball history playing bad defense behind him definitely had a lot to do with that inflated ERA. I feel the same way about this kid as I did when they got Chris Sale 9 years ago. I was pumped at that time. And he's younger than Sale was at that time by 2 years. At 6'6", 245, which Sale was 6'6", like 190 soaking wet, which is why he started to break down. This kid is built to be a workhorse. So you're probably wondering, Scott, what do you think he's going to do then? What do you think he's going to do? You love the signing so much. Think he's going to be an ace. What do you think he's going to do? I'll tell you what I think he's going to do. At least for the next few seasons. Here's what you can expect, okay? 185 to 200 innings pitched for Crochet. An ERA somewhere between 2.9 and 3.3 and around 250 strikeouts per season. This was the right move for the Red Sox. Yes, he's had Tommy John surgery already. But as long as he doesn't need a second one, and that's a big knock on wood, what if he never needs a second one, this is a big effing win for the Red Sox. I told you I wanted them to do this, and they did it. So hats off to them for doing the right thing. Folks, we're going to get off of baseball. And by the way, just wanted to say thank you to all the new listeners out there, or I guess the new watchers and new listeners. Please hit that subscribe button and all the hit the likes and the share it to your friends. You can leave comments. Guys, you can even leave negative comments if you want. I can take it. I'm not a child. So, but thank you for so much for the support. As always, I constantly hear about new people checking in all the time, and I just want to encourage you to interact with the show as much as possible. But thank you all, regardless of what you think of it, for the support. So, let's switch to football a little bit, right? We just a little bit of a we'll just get your mouth watering just a little bit, right? Football's king, especially in this country. We all know that. So the NFL owners meetings have been going on over the past several days, right? They voted on a number of rule changes, and this is stuff that's going to affect your viewing experience, guys. So maybe pay attention to this stuff. Here's where we're going to start. And all this stuff, by the way, goes into effect this upcoming season. So again, pay attention. At the NFL owners meetings, the owners have approved kickoffs resulting in touchbacks will now give the receiving team the ball at the 35-yard line. And you may be saying to yourself, well, Scott, that's ridiculous. Why the hell would they do that? I'll tell you why they would do it. It's very simple. They want to encourage teams not to kick the ball out of the end zone, right? Doesn't that make sense? I mean, yeah, I agree that touchbacks should have stayed at the 20-yard line, but it's been a long time since we've been at that point, right? This gives the kicking teams incentive to cover their kicks and try. It's going to bring more kickoffs back into the sport, is what I'm telling you. They screwed up with some of the rule changes, but honestly, last year wasn't too bad. And when you do this, it's like giving the team the ball at the 35-yard line. It's just as bad as if you kick it off out of bounds almost, and they start at the 40. So you might as well just cover the damn kicks. It's a good move. I'm all for it. The only one that I'm not all for is this one, the next one. Overtime rules have changed. So now both teams will get a possession no matter what. So the way it was for the last few seasons, ever since the Kansas City Chiefs bitched because they never got the ball and Brady and Edelman and Gronk went up the field and took the 2018 AFC Championship from them. It's been that both teams get a possession as long as the first team that gets the ball doesn't score a touchdown. Well, now even if the first team that gets the ball gets the touchdown in overtime, the opposing team will still get the ball as well. Okay, I don't like it because I started watching football in the late 90s, and it used to be you get the ball, you drive up, you kick a field goal, you win the game. That's it. Stop them. Stop them. That's all I'm saying. If you want to cry about it so much, stop them. But they don't. So, okay, we've got that. Here's another one that I like. Replay assist. First of all, replay assist wasn't even a thing until a couple years ago, right? But this, from upstairs and off the field, right? It includes 5 new penalties. You got hitting a defenseless player, face masks, horse collar tackles, and roughing running into the kicker. I don't think I think outside of maybe hitting defenseless players and face masks, I don't think you're going to see too much of a difference there. But still, I think it's a good thing that you should be able to have replay assist on everything. These games are they might be rigged and these refs might be compromised, so it's a good thing. I don't think that there's anything wrong with replay assist. Here's a cool one for you, especially if you're like a Pats fan or like an old school team fan. League is now allowing up to 4 games a year for throwback jerseys. That's pretty sweet. Hey, Pats, bring back the 90s Royal Blues. Do 2 a year, right? What's it? Pats, the Patriots. Hear me out. Do 2 a year with the Pat Patriot red throwbacks. Those are the best ones in football. And then give me 2 more with the 90s Royal Blue flying Elvis on the shoulder. Bring it back. You have no excuse not to. None. So I like that one. This one's the best one. This one's the best one. First downs, finally, in 2025, will be measured electronically. Holy, how did it take that long? How? How did it take that long? Oh, we're working on a brand new, we're working on a world changing thing with Sony here. It's like, if you've been watching tennis for the last, I don't know, 20, 15 years, they've had this technology. It's existed. It's great that it's happening now. A little too late for the Buffalo Bills, but it's happening now. I think it's a great thing. One thing to note about that, the chain gang will remain on the field, but only as a backup and only in 2025 for now. I'm assuming there will be some random glitches that happen when the games are in the balance, but maybe that's just my skepticism. And one more thing at the owners' meetings. They did not have a vote to ban the tush push. Well, they did have a vote to ban the tush push, but they tabled that vote, also known as the brotherly shove. Brother. It was 16 to 16. The owners were dead split on the tush push. So it remains in place. You need 24 votes to ban it. So 8 more teams would have to flip. It will remain legal for at least 1 more season. By the way, I hate the stupid thing. I hate it. It's dumb. It's rugby. It's not real football. But I'm just going to tell you this much: even if they ban it, they'll find another way to do something just like it. That's just what the case will be. So I guess I'm fine with keeping it because there's really no way around it. It's inevitable. The tush push is inevitable, just like the Philadelphia Eagles were last season. So I think the owners got everything right this time, except that overtime rule. Like I said, I'm old school. I think if you get the damn ball and you get it up to the 30-yard line, you kick the field goal, game's over, you win. That's what I think. That's the way it was for a very long time, right? That's just the way I grew up, though. Maybe that's kind of a boomer take of me, actually. I think that's boomer. You're a boomer. Like, no, I'm technically a really old millennial, which is gross. But anyway, that's a different story for a different day. Okay, locally here in New England, for you guys. Last week I said that I was positive that they are going to draft Will Campbell in the NFL draft. The NFL draft, the first night of the NFL draft is on April 24th. It's 3 weeks from tomorrow. Things are moving fast. It sounds an awful lot like they want to draft Travis Hunter, the standout two-way player from Colorado. It sounds a lot like they want to draft Travis Hunter. Elliot Wolf couldn't help himself when he was interviewed about this yesterday by Kay Adams. And now I love it. I love it because the two absolute game-changing players at the top of this draft are Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. And I don't think there's any chance in hell you get Abdul Carter. He's not making it past 2, never mind 3. I'm not sure that Travis Hunter is going to make it past 3. You have the 4th pick. Thanks a lot, Gerard Mayo. Appreciate that one. So, I think Cam Ward goes number 1 to Tennessee. Maybe Carter goes number 1 to Tennessee and Cam Ward goes number 2 to Cleveland. But either way, it's those two guys going 1-2. If you really want Travis Hunter, and I think they do, I'm convinced after yesterday that they do, you give up, you trade up. You trade up to number 3 because the Giants are not taking a quarterback. They're not taking Shadeur Sanders. They're not doing it. They're gonna Dayball is gonna ride or die with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. So Brian Dayball is gonna be out of a job this time next year, but that's neither here nor there. That's the direction they want to go in. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Giants want to pair Travis Hunter with Malik Neighbors and give that offense two ridiculous weapons to work with. If you really want Travis Hunter, you're going to have to trade up to number three, I think. I just think that's what you're going to have to do now if you're the Patriots. But I think you can make it work pretty easily, right? Because I think all you got to do, you have an early pick in the second round of this draft. It's not a deep draft. All you've got to do is give up that fourth pick, swap the 3 and the 4 pick around with the Giants, and give them that pick in the second round, and I think you have it. I think it's that easy. And for me, this is Travis Hunter's a slam dunk. It's a slam dunk. He's a two. He can play both sides of the ball. I think he can do both at the NFL level, and I think he can do both fairly well. It's nice to see the Patriots wanting to target actual talent and figuring out the rest later, instead of just figuring out the rest later without drafting actual talent. Imagine if they just drafted A.J. Brown, who wanted to be here, instead of N'Keal Harry. You know how much different everything would have been? I made this point to my buddy Nate yesterday. Do you have any idea how different things would have been? Brady might never have left. Sorry for the audio peak there. But anyway, it's nice to see them targeting. We can't change the past, right? We all wish we could, right? But you can't. So it's nice to see them targeting actual talent. They figure out the rest later. Hunter and Carter, two best talents in the draft, just like I told you. If he comes here to New England, he's primarily a wide receiver. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Line him up on the other side of Diggs. That's perfectly fine because you already have top end talent at corner here. But if you want to make the kid happy, you can still give him some reps each game, 3 wide receiver sets, or if somebody needs a break, maybe you give Travis Hunter like 8, 10 snaps a game on defense. Why not? Why not? Because he's talented enough to do both. He's kind of tiny, so you got to be a little bit careful managing his reps. But that's what you want to do. So that's my NFL stuff. That's the Patriots stuff. They want to draft Travis Hunter. I want them to draft Travis Hunter. You should want them to draft Travis Hunter and bring back the 90s Royal Blues. No excuse not to. Let's let's close up the show real quick. Just a couple of quick hockey notes here, very quick, right? Brad Marchand debuted with the Florida Panthers and immediately assisted on the game-winning goal in overtime to Sam Bennett. We all threw up here in New England. Every single one of us had dysentery. But the most important one, I guess, because Marchand's gone, and like I just told you, we can't change the past. So here's the real one. Alexander Ovechkin was now 39 years old, was drafted in 2005, has spent his whole career with the Washington Capitals. He is now at 891 goals, and he is 4 away from breaking the all-time record set by the great one, Wayne Gretzky. And that's something that no one ever thought would be broken until recently. We didn't think that Ovechkin was going to hold up like this, but it's like they say, Russian machine never break. He broke his friggin' leg. He comes back, and he's at 39 years old. Ovechkin has 38 goals this season. 38 goals for 39-year-old guy. And 65 points overall. He's truly an all-time great, one of the best ever to do it. And once that record is broken, I will spend more time talking about him because it's something that deserves to be talked about. And finally, folks, just one last thing. I know I haven't talked about the Boston Celtics in a while. I can't stand the NBA regular season. The product sucks. Sorry, it does. If I ever get a real gig, I guess I won't be able to say that, huh? But anyway, the Boston Celtics, your Boston Celtics, are 56-19 with 7 games left in the regular season. 7 games left in the regular season, guys. So we'll be talking playoff basketball very soon on the show. Just want to point this out. The Celtics were 32-15 after a loss on January 27th. Since that time, you can do the math, they are 24-4. The best team in the league, still, your Boston Celtics. I look forward to covering another long playoff run, just like we got to do last year. We're going to get to do it again on the Terranadome. That's the show, folks. Again, once again, thank you for the support. Please leave comments, subscribe, like, share it, do all that stuff. Doesn't even have to be a polite comment. You can be rude if you want. I can take it. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not really 40, but I can take it. We will see you guys at the end of next week. Gonna be a little bit busy in the meantime, but we will be back at the end of next week, probably next Friday on the Terranadome. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great weekend. Be well. Tell somebody you love them today because tomorrow is not promised. Thanks, guys. Peace.